Well now, welcome to your May reading, Aquarius. Now, I'm not just meaning you, Aquarius, but as these cards were coming out, I could see so many familiar patterns. And I can in yours. I mean, I'm immediately drawn to that Devil card, top left hand. Unhealthy attachments and addictions. I'm sure there are some unhealthy attachments and addictions in your life. But I also don't feel that that's our main concern. In middle card there, Hermit, going inside yourself and looking for answers. I think that's very telling. Very telling. I'm not sure of what yet, but I'm certain it's very telling. A recent past, you've moved on. Dump some baggage. There's clearly a darkness in your life, and I think to a certain degree you're moving away from that darkness. And you do appear to be doing that right now. We've got that Chariot card. Balance. Moving quickly, with a pace, with a sense of direction. Knowing what you're doing. In the future, I think there's the danger of you becoming a little bit miserly. Maybe it's required, I don't know. But it's not a great thing to find in the future. Then what leads to the outcome is this Devil card, these addictions, these unhealthy attachments. As I say, I'm not completely fazed by it. I think because of what the outcome is, and I'll come to that next. What would change the outcome is the Knight of Swords, is it? Hang on. What's he the Knight of? Knight of Wands. Ah. No, it's not. It's the Knight of Cups. Knight of Love. Is it to do with filling your heart full of love? Or he can be a bit of a fool for love. I mean, I know it depicts a she here, and, you know, none of this is gender specific anyway, so don't worry about that. That would change it. I wonder if the addiction is an addiction to what you perceive as being love. Maybe that's it. Maybe. The outcome, and as I say, the outcome rises out of the unhealthy attachment or addiction, is a celebration. Celebration with family and friends. Now, I'd normally see this as a wonderful thing, but do you know, my youngest stepdaughter, she's been going out with this boy. She's actually finished with him and got somebody else now. But he came to see us for Lebanon, that's our Eid holiday, and brought loads of presents. And then he chose to come out with us on Friday night. And on the Friday night, he proposed to my daughter. Now remember, she's finished with him. But apparently his mother and father want him to get married. And they've said if he doesn't marry her, they'll choose someone for him. Now remember, I live in Indonesia. It's a bit different to the West, you know. I mean, it's by no means is it India, but, you know. And the problem, it seems to me, is the parents. You know, they're pushing. Don't think he wants to get married yet. Certainly I don't think my daughter does, but they're pushing. So I wonder if this celebration is something a bit like that normally I'd read good things into it, but, you know, maybe not. Maybe not. I see so often in Indonesia people who've been sort of pushed into marriage by their parents and it doesn't go well. That's not saying that in the West we've got it right and love marriages, you know, so many break up anyway. So I'm not casting value judgments, but what I am saying is that I think we're all feeling the pressure from his parents, and I'm just saying, why? Do you know what I mean? Well, looks very interesting, Aquarius. Let's look at each individually. Now, the card that dominates the entire reading, and I must recognise that as I'm looking at the other cards, and that is the card of the Hermit. You look at this one, I mean, he's turned his back on the City of London, hasn't he? I don't know if that means you're turning your back on materialism, but it could do. But he's going inside himself and looking for answers. And I do feel that's exactly the right energy to have right now for you, Aquarius. There's clearly some dark things in your past that you need answers on. I'm not certain that you will find them within yourself, but until you've explored yourself, you're not going to find them at all. So it is a very necessary thing to be doing. And, you know, I think this is quite personal to you, but let's face it, there's a lot going on in the world that many of us are seeking answers for. So it does feel like the right time to have this energy. It really does, Aquarius. Now, I'm certain from this spread, Aquarius, that there's something dark in your past. Something a little unsavoury. I think it's people that you need to move on from. And you have done this in your recent past. You've moved on, and hopefully you've also dumped the baggage. I'm sure it's people. I'm sure it's people that you need to dump. I wonder, however, if you've chosen the right people. I just get the feeling that there's conflict between different people or different groups of people, and you've sort of been forced to choose. And I think maybe this reading is about you beginning to realise you might have chosen the wrong one. It's only a feeling I've got, that's all. Current energy, we have this Chariot card. It's a card of balance, it's a card of direction. It's a card of knowing where you're going and going there quickly. Again, it's a card that I'd associate. It's a very good card to have, a very good energy to have. But if you've made the wrong choice, and I don't know why I'm getting this feeling, but if you've made the wrong choice, then it's entirely the wrong thing to do. Now, you may know I used to teach business strategy at a major international business school. I forget who designed this matrix, but there was a matrix. It was sort of strategy and tactics. And it showed that if you'd got your strategy wrong and you were implementing your tactics well, it would get you in deeper trouble than if you did nothing at all, you know. And I can't help but feel that that's the situation you're in. And I don't know quite why I've got this feeling. One of the misgivings I have is this card, this Four of Pentacles, which is in the future. It's a card potentially of you being miserly. Now, it might be highly appropriate to be being careful with your money. I mean, we live in strange times. I don't think these are times to be spending a lot of money, that's for sure. Often this is a psychological thing. It can be a feeling of poverty, and that feeling of poverty is self-fulfilling. I don't know, but it's one of the cards that gives me the misgivings. It really is. Yeah. Is it necessarily that bad? I don't think any of this is necessarily that bad. I think you've had terrible times in the past, and you're beginning to emerge from them. So, you know, I think for most people I'd say it's not a good spread, but for you, Aquarius, I think it's progress, all of it. We'll see. Now, the energy that leads to the outcome is this Devil card, you know, and it was what my eye was immediately attracted to it. I'm certain you do have unhealthy attachments, maybe even addictions. And I guess most people looking at you and looking at your life would say this is the core problem you need to deal with. But often they're indicative of something a lot deeper. It's not the addiction, it's the reason you are addicted that matters. And I think that's much more important. In fact, I think we're going to get clarification on this actual card. Because I think there's something a lot deeper here that needs exposing. Yeah, we'll see. And what would change the outcome? A Knight of Cups. Fall for love, somebody that wears on his heart on his sleeve, does get taken. But I think as a result of this darkness there is, that I think goes back in your life some time, to be perfectly honest, that you've put up barriers to love, put up barriers towards others. And if you could be more of a fool for love, even though you've been very hurt, you would open yourself up to a completely new life. You could create the change that you're looking for. Now the outcome is a celebration, probably with friends, could be with family. Just a joyous occasion. But I mistrust it. Because of course it's this addiction, if you like, that's led to it. And I think you're celebrating exactly the wrong thing. Because I think you've made the wrong choices in your life. And I think we are talking of people here. I think this is, I gave that spiel at the beginning about my youngest daughter's boyfriend wanting her to marry him. And he seems a nice bloke and I think they could be happy together, but I just don't see why they should be running to the timetable of his parents. It seems like a recipe for disaster, and I've got that feeling about this celebration here for you. We've got to get clarity, haven't we? So we've got to get clarification on this devil card, haven't we? And we've got 2 twos here. The first 2 is about a degree of struggle to do everything that you want, and the second one is difficult choices. So I'm certain it is about a choice between 2 people. Now the outcome, and as I say, I think you've chosen the wrong one. The outcome, you are going to be quite wealthy, but maybe by yourself. Wow. Let's look at this in more detail. So yeah, this first 2, I'm sure that's a 2 of Pentacles. Does it matter? Well, let me just check for you. I don't want to mislead you. I'm sure it's a 2 of Pentacles. I know exactly what it means, and it's a sort of a work-life balance card, that you're struggling with work and with your life. You're struggling to do it. Yeah, it is a 2 of Pentacles. Struggling to do everything that you need to do. Now, I think this is about your life, that you can't possibly... You're almost being set up to fail, as it were. That's what this addiction's about. You can't actually do everything that's expected of you. And it's other people's expectations. Remember going back to my daughter and the wedding, you know, as I say, it's not that there's anything wrong with the boy. And I think they could be very happy together. Now, his family are devout Muslims. And they're not the sort of Muslim that I am. You know, they're the sort of hijab wearing, mustn't do this, mustn't do that type of Muslim. And, you know, I don't have an argument with it. It's just, you know, my daughter's not like that. But of my two daughters, she's the one who could cope with it the best. I mean, she is a Muslim, don't get me wrong. You know, and I think she could cope with it the best. But she's only 23, you know, and his parents are rich. They've already bought a house for them. Well, they own lots of houses. They've already selected one for them. So, you know, I'm sure they could be very happy, but maybe if they could just leave it a little while. You know, the reason why she finished with him was because they were too pushy. You know, yeah, it's that sort of energy I've got from this. That you can't possibly please everybody. Are we suggesting that somebody here is a narcissist? I think probably. And I think they're the ones that you've chosen. You're codependent on a narcissist, quite possibly. The next two suggest there's a choice to be made, and I'm sure this is a choice between two people. And you're blindfolded. If I'm right that one of them's a narcissist, you're not aware of it. To your mind, they both have their good points and their bad points. Almost certainly if one's a narcissist, because they've been bad-mouthing the other to you, and your image of them is not a true image. But yeah, I think you're being asked to choose between two people, and this is what you're finding so difficult to do. But by default, you chose one and not the other, and I'm sure you chose the wrong one. Maybe, because we'll look at the final card now. Now, I'm going to tell you a story, because I think it's highly relevant. And there's a lot of things that feel highly relevant, and I don't quite know why, but after Ramadan, what we call Lebanon, most Muslims would call Eid, we went out on the Friday night. We often go out on a Friday night in Jakarta. Anyway, we chose to go to somewhere in the centre of town that we don't often go to. It's actually the same owners as the place we normally go to, which is much closer to us, but it's very lively, very lively. And there was a group of British people sitting next to us. I hadn't realised they were all British, nor had I realised they were all sort of long-term residents of Indonesia. Now, my wife is very beautiful. She is. I mean, she's gorgeous. And I'm very lucky to have her, and I love her to death. But one of them that I was chatting to, every time I went to the toilet, would approach her and say how he wanted to sleep with my wife. Now, my wife isn't the sort of person to say, go away, you know. But he did it every time I went to the toilet, and he even gave her his card. Now, of course, he was a narcissist. He wasn't actually interested in my wife, he's just interested in attempting to spoil my life. Now, at our age, narcissists are a bit sad because they're going to end up lonely and bitter, and he'd already was well on that journey. Why is this relevant? Well, I think you chose the narcissist, you see. And they are going to end up lonely and bitter, but I think they end up rich. And indeed, you will probably get a share of their wealth. So, have you done the right thing? You know, he said to me, before any of this happened with my wife, that he'd been in Indonesia 40 years, he'd never been so foolish as to get married. Well, you know, he's gonna be bitter, sad, lonely. he's going to die a very unhappy man, and you can see it on his face, you know. So is money the right thing to go for when you could have true love? Well, I've not half swayed a bit, but you know, I'm getting a very strong feeling that I've got this right for you, so I'm going to summarise. Aquarius, I could make this sound like a really bad spread for you, but I don't think it is. I think the badness is in your past, and you're beginning to put it... Well, you have moved on. You are dumping baggage, but so much keeps coming back to bite you. You know, for once in your life, you've got a wonderful sense of direction, a sense of balance, knowing where you're going and why. But I think you're going in the wrong direction. And I think it's because you had to choose between two people and you chose the wrong one. And you're somewhat aware of this because you're going inside yourself and looking for answers. But they're not really jumping out at you. You see, I think you're codependent on a narcissist, and it's the narcissist you chose. Almost certainly it was a difficult choice, but the narcissist would have told you all sorts of stories about the other person. And that's why you chose them. And now, there is in the future a celebration. I do hope it's not something you get rushed into. You know, it could be something like a wedding. I do hope it's not something you get rushed into. There's a celebration with family and friends. And I think it's a very premature celebration. Particularly as in the future we have you being careful with your money. Which doesn't make sense because I think the attraction of the narcissist was that they were wealthy. And you were hoping to get some of that money. In fact, I think you were hoping to get all of it. That's my feeling. If you could open your heart a bit more, I think you might realise you'd made the wrong choice. You might realise what I'm telling you here. Yeah. And that's why you're going inside your head. I feel for you, Aquarius, because I don't think you're going to resolve these things quickly. But going inside your head and looking for answers is the only thing you can do, quite honestly. So my heart goes out to you, Aquarius, and I'm hoping you'll get there.